So the story begins. The story begins. There is a king and his wife, sister and the husband. Like that, his sister and his sister's husband. There, he is taking them. His sister just married and is taking both of them around in a carriage by a horse. But then, all of a sudden, the clouds became dark and a message announced from the sky that one day you will become king and your sister will give 7 childs, each of them will dispose, but the 8th child, he will be special and will bring an end to your evil reign. And then with that, the sky became normal again. But the king, by that time he already had become corrupt. He took his sister and his brother-in-law and locked them in a prison. Okay, then see, the first child was born. Every time a child was born, the king sent a message to kill it immediately and kill it especially and bury its ashes deep underground in a way. Then by this time, this process keep happening over and over again, making the parents more miserable about all their lost children. By the time it was time for the 8th child, one magical night, the 8th child, the one magical night on the birth of the 8th child, which is also known as Janmashtami, which is today, a light showed through the small bars of the prison cell, and the light entered. Even though it was night, the light was still very yellow, as if it was still day. At that moment, Krishna was born. The parents were afraid he wouldn't make a sound and the guards would take him away. But he didn't. He was extremely quiet and patient. Due to some odd reason, his skin was the color blue. Little did they know, he had some amazing power and was actually a god. So with this, the parents worried, how will they get their 8th child to safety? This was the reason of their worry.
Krishna.
The 8th child actually smiled, and to the parents' shock, the guards fell asleep. Bang went their spearheads as it clanged on the floor when they fell asleep. And the father's handcuffs uncuffed and the prison door opened. All of a sudden they had a basket with them. So they put the child into a basket and took him away. Walk away, okay, and then come back. So eventually father travels and reaches the river Yamuna. Reaches the river which was at the time, you may think lots of rivers as calm and peaceful when I say, but it was a wild and stormy night with lots of thunder, and the river was bursting and overflowing. Still, the father knew he had to get this child to safety, and he knew he had to do this because of the odd color of the child's skin. Then they took him across. In the middle of the river, a monster appeared. The father got very scared, but the baby smiled and pulled one of the monster's many tongues. And the monster itself, which is actually like a hydra with more than just 3 heads multiplied by 2. It was like a hydra with 3 heads multiplied by 2, which is 9 heads. He pulled one of the tongues and onto that face and they started pulling it. It's called the Hydra-type monster in pain and let the father cross. They crossed and arrived to the palace. At the palace, the father slowly put the baby instead of the royal baby there in the thing and took the baby and took it back to the cell. And the cell automatically locked and the guards automatically awoke. Also the handcuffs are back now. The child started crying. The guard marched into the room. Just as the guard was about to, and not only the guard, but the king, evil king, he was corrupt because of his announcement. He looked in. He knew that this was the eighth child because he had counted them carefully. He stepped up to grab the child himself, but then all of a sudden the child turned into a ball of light and slowly went to another end of the room. And it turned into a goddess who announced the message that announced that he shall never ever by his evil reign trouble anybody ever again. And then that goddess turned into a ball of light and disappeared once more. That left the king begging, and the parents got all the good stuff, but the king was set out for revenge. The rest of the story is a part later, that where Krishna is this, that, but this is about Janmashtami, not about something else. So, as for Lord Krishna, in the morning their parents discovered that the child was blue. In fact, the parents had not known the gender, which was lucky for them. And the child looked almost the same as their child, just that it was a blue color, like that. So, we took the child in and raised it royally. And that is the story of Janmashtami, my friends. Now, thank you for listening to my story about Janmashtami.
पार्ट 2 चाहिए